KLW in Cincinnati, and then came to the home of big-time radio when there was no television, New York City.
You started out in
1923 in the circus.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, what did you do in the circus?
My first job, my children say to me, Dad, don't say that. It's embarrassing. No, I say it's not embarrassing. I wanted to be a clown. My first job in the circus was, I'd like to inform you, Mike, and all you people listening, that elephants are vegetarians. They eat a great deal and leave much to be desired, and I was the kid with the shovel moving the desired from one place to another. That's it. But it's show business, Mike.
You got to do what you got to do.
That's it. And then, I begging, cajoling, studying, pleading. I eventually became a clown. I worked a little bit over 8 years. I worked with Clyde Beatty, Cole Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, went into carnival business, had my own medicine show, kept a lot of your ancestors alive, went into vaudeville, burlesque, radio, started in radio, WGN in Chi-Town, then went to WLW, and then came to New York and doing radio, doing voices, trying to make a living, and then somebody invented that little 9-inch little box called television, and some suit. In every business there's a suit. We call them a suit.
Oh, yeah.
You know all about that, Michael. And some suit said, Al Lewis, he doesn't look that bad. On a 9-inch screen, they won't be able to notice the deficiencies in his physiognomy. And the rest is history.
Now, before we get too far ahead, did you miss anything about your days in the circus? Do you miss scooping the desired?
No, mostly what I missed was that pleasant aroma. And I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night thinking I may be surrounded by it.
Well, being out here in the Roaring Spring, Altoona area that we are, we get that smell quite often.
I know. Altoona is the old coal country.
Right? Oh, yeah.
Sure, Altoona, Scranton. Oh, yes. Yeah. I've been through that many a time.
Now, like I said, you worked in radio for a while, and you did
18 years of radio.
And you did serials or soap operas?
Voices, you name them. Detective stories, murder, comedy, your voice. Round up the posse. Yeah, I get him, boss. Don't worry, I know where he's hiding.
Now, did you have any cool names like Rock Rivers?
No. Yeah, well,
these are
Pancho,
more like that.
Angelo, you know what I mean? Yeah, and occasionally I did. The
soap operas, of course, were a little different than what they are.
Yes, of course, soap operas. Yeah. Most people don't know. We got to inform them, Michael, that soap operas, that name came from the principal sponsor, P&G, Procter and Gamble. That's right.
And they were big on soap and still are today.
And they went into television. I remember they were the matter of fact, in those years. Now you have a multiplicity of sponsors in television. But I remember doing Car 54, Where Are You? And they were the sole sponsor, P&G.
You've also done Broadway?
Well, I think I'm the last of the troglodytes. I mean, once I pass from the scene, they'll pour me into resin.
Now, I do have to ask about this medicine show. And you did a medicine show. And I heard that you made your own medicine.
Yes, I did. I made it in the bathtub. The night before. No, this is legit.
Oh, yeah.
And my assistant and I, we poured it in a little funnel into bottles. We labeled them. And the following day, there I was out on the street. You can call it a street, it was about 3 miles long, the main street, and with a stepladder and American flag. Move a little closer, please. Would you move a little closer so the people in the back, they have the same ailment that you have, and I'm going to help them. Move a little. Don't crowd, because some of you, may catch it from one another. But before you do, I will take care of it. Professor Alfie will take care of it. Now, let me tell you something. I sold those bottles, 3 bottles for 50 cents, and people laughed. But I have the last laugh because now, OTC, over the counter, you folks are paying $7 for the same thing.
That's the truth.
Because a little bit of history is wonderful. Before they passed the Johnson Act in 1909, the basis of all OTC, because of the horrendous, the greatest amount of deaths and casualties that America has incurred was obviously in the Civil War because they were killing each other.
Right.
And there was no antiseptics, no antibiotics. So you know what was used? Cocaine to relieve the pain.
Yeah.
You could send your 5-year-old son to the pharmacy and say, here's 50 cents, get me a bottle of liquid cocaine. And they sell it. As a matter of fact, you can look it up historically. There was cocaine ice cream.
Oh, yeah, and Coca-Cola?
Yes,
oh,
the original, yes. In 1909, they passed the Johnson Act eliminating that. So the basis became, what can I tell you, alcohol, like it is today. And I used to say, not only will it get rid of everything you have and prevent you from getting anything other, but it's going to make you feel good.
Now, did anybody run you out of town after they had
No. They came for more bottles.
So that's what you mean earlier.
That's right. It made you fit 3 bottles for 50 cents. Good, you can get a good buzz with that.
Like you said, you kept many ancestors alive.
That's right. That's
with that
right.
concoction.
That's right.
Now you've guested on many TV shows back in the classic days of
Good
TV.
Lord! And run them down. Run them down.
I love.
Hey, you got to make a living.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Do I have to tell you? You got to eat.
Right.
And you got to. It's like my landlord. I said, are you aware who I am? You know that I am known all over the world. People watch my show. He looks at me and then he says, I want my rent. I said, well, wait a minute, I haven't showed you the scrapbook. Oh, wait a minute, take a look at these items here. This is over 50 years. He looks, lifts his face up and says to me, I want my rent. He's unimpressed.
Yes, and some people it really doesn't matter.
That's it. You talk about a one-track mind. I want my rent.
Now, what was your favorite show to do that you've done? Do you have a favorite?
Well, as a series, my favorite show was Car 54 because I think comedically it was the best written show week after week. I mean, there are single shows, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's very difficult. I mean, I don't have to tell you, Mike, to be prolific week after week after week after week. And I've been very blessed. The good Lord has been kind to me. In my opinion, this is my opinion, I worked for 3 comic writing geniuses, S.J. Perlman, George Kaufman, and Nat Hiken. And these guys, I don't know how they were born that way. They could write I mean, when I was doing Car 54, the greatest pleasure, in addition to going to the studio and doing it, but on the Friday, we would get the script for next week's show, starting on Monday. And I used to read all the parts to my wife, my kids, and we die laughing. And then it's funny. Like today, get a script and they say, it's okay, but you'll make it funny. Then you're carrying stones uphill when they say that.
Right.
But you didn't have to do it with Nat or George S. Kaufman or S.J. Perlman. They could write humor. And like the Bible says, in the beginning was the Word, and if you don't have it, boy, is it a stretch, Michael?
Right. And just in case people don't remember that, I can't see why they wouldn't. That was such a classic show. But you played Officer Schnauzer.
Officer Leo Schnauzer. Yes, and his illustrious wife, Sylvie's funny lady, Charlotte Ray, Sylvia Schnauzer.
A lot of those are classic actors as well.
Yeah, she went out to have a great career in Hollywood.
Right.
Charlotte, yes, and matter of fact, lives in Los Angeles. Yes, I knew her very well, her husband, her kids. Yeah, I usually become very, very friendly with people that I work with. I'm a friendly guy. Like Fred Gwynn was my closest friend, and I was his. And I miss him a great deal. I really do. Wonderful human being, really. I wish you'd gotten to know him. He would be like you and I would say from the other side of the tracks.
Right.
His dad and his uncle, which was Dad's brother, had a brokerage firm on Wall Street, Gwynn Brothers, and they had money. And their winter home was right next to Joe Kennedy's home in Palm Beach. And Fred went to the correct schools. He went to Groton, then he graduated Harvard. But if you knew him for 20 years, you would never know that. He was an ordinary Joe, and it meant nothing to him that he went to, these places and knew all these people and the Kennedys and all that junk,
Of course, everybody knows you as Grandpa Munster. And how did you come to get that part as Grandpa Munster on
a telephone call? I was at home. I had just finished doing a Broadway musical. As a matter of fact, with Phil Silvers and Nancy Walker at the St. James Theater called Do Re Mi. And I was at home and the phone rang and I said, hello? He said, hi, Mr. Lewis. This is Jerry Henshaw here in the development department at Universal. I'm thinking of doing a pilot. Would you be interested? They have those kind of voices like they're grown-up Gerber babies, And so I said, well, I don't know anything about it, sir. That's all right. Well, I have a couple of scripts sent to you tomorrow and in the mail, blah, blah. And I took a look at it, and you go like, I don't remember if it was either one completed script or two and a number of outlines. And this was either a Monday or Tuesday, and my agent made the deal, and Sunday, both Fred and I didn't know at first. Fred and I flew out on the same plane. We spent Monday about 9 hours doing makeup tests. Then we realized what it was. On a printed page, you can't, you don't, it's just words,
Right.
And the rest was history. We didn't do a pilot, actually. We did a presentation. Why? I have no idea. The presentation, which of course couldn't be shown because it was so short, consisted of the opening shot of the house. Then they went into the family, and there was Fred, and there was another actress playing Lily, and another boy playing Eddie, and Marilyn. And then somebody said that lasted maybe about 4 minutes, and somebody said, where is Grandpa? And somebody said, he's down in the laboratory. And we went down there, and I did about 3 minutes, and ad-libbed about 4, and that was the whole presentation, and they sold it on that basis.
Yeah, you said you worked with your good friend Fred Gwynn,
yeah.
And also Yvonne DeCarlo, who was, as well as being a looker, she was a very good actress as well.
Yes, sirree, and she was one of those TNA, and don't get me wrong, I'm talking about television antennas. No, I'm not going to venture into where your mind is going, Michael.
We never thought that for one second.
No, TNA, television antenna. I'm a great advocate. Every woman should have a proper television antenna.
There should be
I don't know, please, let's...
Now, it seemed like a lot of fun to do that show.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what was the greatest thing for me doing that show. The good Lord has been kind to me. I've done 3 TV series, Sergeant Bilko, Car 54, and the Munsters. I did about, in the history of television, I don't know, about 180 TV shows. The rarity about the Munsters, and again, I got to say this here, and if there are any actors listening, too bad. We liked each other off camera, and that carried on to the camera. Usually when you're doing a show, the thought process is photograph. You can't fool the camera. And somebody, why did they? I could do it better than him or her. Oh, boy, if they ever gave me those things. We never had that on the show.
Right.
And to me, that was a rarity. In all of the television that I've done, we liked each other, and we helped each other, and we had fun off camera, and it carried on to the camera with the words that were written for us. I swear to you, that's what it was, Michael.
I'm sure you still talk to Pat Priest. And
oh, yeah, Pat lives in Buell, Idaho. Let's see, I last spoke to her last Wednesday. Butch Patrick, I just saw this weekend. Yvonne, a little bit under the weather health-wise. I spoke to her about 3-4 months ago. She lives in Santa Maria, California. Yeah.
And I know Butch, he has a website, which I was checking out, Munster.com, and he does parties and all kinds of things.
Oh, yeah.
Eddie Munster,
he's trying, yeah.
Has
he's trying.
friends.
I was just with him at the autograph show this past Saturday and Sunday in Los Angeles.
Yeah. And I also read about a house in Texas that's being built like the original one on the Munster show.
Yes, a couple, for reasons that I cannot believe. The town is Waxahachie, Texas. I've never been there. It's about, I would say, maybe a half hour from Dallas. I performed in Dallas, but Waxahachie I never heard of.
Right.
They, for some reason or other, I mean, we would have to consult their psychiatrist, but they decided to build a replica of the outside. Of course, I'll tell you that the house in television was a shell.
Right.
Because the interior were done on stage, you know what I mean? Now, I don't know if they're going to go so far as to build the interiors. That I don't know. But I've heard a number of times, and I don't know why they haven't invited me to the opening. I feel neglected.
Well, I know.
I would like to go to, it's a lifelong ambition to go to Waxahachie, Texas. No, but I read that item, and the Associated Press called me about and said, Mr. Lewis, are you going to haunt that house?
Wow. Did you find it hard, because you became Grandpa Munster to people.
And still,
anticipated that when they saw you, you were Grandpa Munster. And did you find it hard to get work after the Munsters? Was it a lot like typecasting?
Let me say this. I am sure that it goes on, but the actor or performer or actress, you never hear. In other words, nobody ever said to me or the agent that, yeah, Alan, he's pretty good, but we're not casting comic vampires this year, So I just continued working. After the Munsters, I did a couple of guest shots on other shows, and then I went back to the theater, and I did about 8-9 years doing theater all over the country. So if it did happen, and I'm sure it may have been, I don't know,
Right.
I'm not concerned about that. I really don't. Because I say to myself, I've always said, see, I've never, ever lost a belief in myself. And if you, let's say you're the producer and you think that I can only do comic vampires or, I'm too outspoken or too tall or too fat, that's your problem. It's not mine. I can't deal with that,
Right.
It's like, a farmer will tell you, if you ain't got the reins, you can't ride the horse. You only deal with those things that you have control over.
That's true.
That's
Absolutely.
it.
The reason I ask that, a lot of actors, they become, they're whining about the fact that they couldn't find work because of that.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that happens, but
do you
throw another iron in the fire, man.
Sure.
You throw I didn't get that much, so I went back to theater, and I did 8.5 years of doing plays all over the country.
Right.
And went back because I had done theater before, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then if somebody wanted me to do a voiceover in radio, I did that, I have a couple of them running now. I've done that before, so I never think about, gee whiz, wow.
Sure. What could have been, yeah.
You know what I say? If you have a great date with this lovely young lady, you're all dressed up, like we say in New York, you're togged out in your finery, you open up the door, and it is pouring rain. Don't curse the sky. Go inside and get an umbrella. I mean, what is the point of standing there and heaping curses upon the heavens?
Right.
That ain't going to stop the rain.
Right.
Go and get an umbrella and enjoy yourself.
You own a few restaurants called Grandpa's, if I recall.
Yes. I started out a couple of years ago in infamous or famous Greenwich Village, 252 Bleecker Street, Grandpa's. And then I also had 2 comedy clubs, one called Shooting Stars, and the other one's called Grandpa's. Shooting Stars was in Westchester, and Grandpa's was in Staten Island on New Dorp and Ross. And they're all gone. Where the restaurant was, I sold the building, and now I have a restaurant in Las Vegas, in New York, and in London, right by the Arts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're still doing radio as well, too.
Yes, you call me. Call me. What do you need? You need some patent medicine? Hey, I got a big bathtub. I still remember the ingredients, No, really, you got to, I have to tell you, you do what you have to do.
Exactly.
You got to eat, you got to pay rent, you got to raise a family, you do what you have to do.
Sure. Okay, Al, well, if you can stick on the line there a second, I want to talk to you a couple of seconds here more, but we thank you for taking some time to talk to us today.
And I want to thank you, Michael, and God bless you, and especially to all your listeners. Really, sincerely, I say to all of them, I wish for all of you what I would ever want to wish for myself. And as that sign says in the Dublin bar, hey, may the wind be always at your back, may the sun never set upon your doorstep, and until we all see or hear each other again, may the good Lord keep you in the palm of his hand. God bless you, and thank you. And as my mother would say, you go out and you make this your day. Thank you, and God bless you, Mike.
Thank you, Al Lewis.
Thank you.